There's something strange going on. You've probably noticed it. I've noticed it. But there's something deeper available to us in terms of a lesson, a takeaway, advice than you or I might have noticed at first. What we observe in the 2024 presidential election at present is one candidate who continues to perform in long form interviews with neutral, friendly, and even antagonistic characters, engaging in endearing public relations activities, finding support with all demographics, all backgrounds, and all income levels. And we have another candidate who is only participating in short form scripted activities, passing them off as being organic. At present, the latest controversy of this Kamala Harris candidacy is the fact that there was a town hall that I believe is being hosted on CNN. Now, a town hall is supposed to be this sort of interaction with your local yokels, and audience members are able to participate and ask questions. And at this so-called town hall, I believe Maria Shriver was the hostess, and one of the members of the audience asked Maria live on air, where it was being broadcasted, if they and other members of the audience would be able to ask questions, given that it's a town hall. And she said no, the questions were decided in advance, so that the answers could be decided in advance, so they could be scripted. Okay. Every day it seems there's a new video of Kamala seeming to be inebriated, or at least not entirely sober the way that we would expect someone who is sober to be looking and to be acting. Now, returning to this grand lesson that is odd, and yet when you hear it, it makes total sense. Despite everything, despite the fact that you see behind me the book Bulletproof, Jack Posobiec and I have done the first and only book that's covering everything, including what's not been in the news, and is from our own investigation, the attempted assassinations of Donald J. Trump. Bulletproof book. The interesting lesson is, despite all of this, the fact that Kamala received something like 3% in her last primary of support. She did not participate in this primary, in the Democratic primary. No votes were cast for her. She was picked by the elite of her party, Democratic Party. Okay. Despite all this, the polls continue to say the candidates are tied. Headline this morning. No joke. Kamala, Trump, tied going into election week. Really? Is that plausible? Is that at all believable? Or is that a crock? Or is that a persuasion lesson for us? I believe that it is. Have you noticed the most effective negotiators you could possibly imagine? And I think you're imagining a couple of them right now. And yes, you are correct. They do not signal certainty. They hold frame, so to speak. What that means is they retain composure and an air of emotional detachedness, if that's a word. It is now. When you're working with a skilled negotiator, no matter how much they want it, you believe you want it more than they do, and therefore you're more willing to compromise. The party who's more willing to compromise and shows it, keyword, shows it, is going to be in the losing end of a win-lose negotiation. My client, Noah Ravoy, his book is behind me, Become Immune to Manipulation. Noah Ravoy, spelled exactly like it sounds. He asserts that persuasion is a win-win situation. It's reciprocity. I had this great thing for you. I like a great thing from you back. Let's trade. When you think about it, that's the economy between individuals and businesses and individuals. Now, the government can meddle, and they can give special tax breaks, and they can issue tariffs, and they can do all manner of things. But when it comes to peer-to-peer, person-to-person, or person business to customer, those interactions are persuasion. Now, where there's manipulation is where it's win-lose. Have you ever bought a product, the features advertised of which were not available with the product itself when you purchased it? I bet you have. And you didn't feel good about it. You lost. Now, you have many times gotten that receipt, you found that return label, and you've returned it, gave money back, because you lost and they won. And because of that, you're able to take it all back, which is good. This is good. The most effective manipulators guard against takebacks, chargebacks. Beware of this. Now, what does this mean for the polls? It is my belief, the allegation that Kamala and Trump are tied, that this is not credible based on the evidence that we're observing. If you compare 2016 to 2020 with different demographic groups and their opinions, likely voters specifically, independent voters, and voters in swing states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Virginia, so on and so forth, Nevada, these are not credible, these polls, when you look at the numbers, where in the past Hillary was leading by this many percentage points, and then Biden was leading by this many percentage points, and Kamala is only leading by single digit, low single digits, or Trump leads by far. I believe it is accurate to say that in 2016, something like a single digit percentage of black men voted for Trump. Was a little bit higher in 2020. This election, the latest poll number that I saw of that demographic group is close to half. Half. And they say he's a racist. What a crock. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. Speaking of, Kamala used that Trumpism during her CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper a few days ago. Someone grabbed a clip of it, and it was something like, you know, Anderson, you know it, I know it, everybody knows it. Grocery bills are way too high. I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Somebody cut that, and I think Donald himself shared it. What a blast. What a blast. So every public appearance of Kamala's becomes a Trump ad. I have remarked on this on numerous occasions. So what's the lesson? The lesson is that I do not have evidence of this, but I strongly suspect that pollsters are engaging in high-stakes negotiation tactic, which is to feign uncertainty, to talk about how they're just really not sure about it. The most effective negotiators I have ever dealt with, crossed swords with, so to speak, verbal swords, they led me to believe I wanted it more than they did, even if they needed it badly. They pushed and they pushed and they pushed. We would have a deal verbally agreed upon. And they would come back and say, well, actually, I'm not so sure about this other detail and this other detail and whatnot. What can you do for me? Can you help? Use that kind of language. What can you do for me? That's if they're looking to put me in a permissive frame and them as the authority. And this is not at all a peer-to-peer relationship, but they're in charge. They're the boss. If they want me to believe they see me as their peer, though, they will say, can you help? Can you be helpful? Can you be useful? Can you be a helper? Help me, please. You see that sort of tone. And so in any negotiation, if you treat it like a Kamala Trump poll, where despite all evidence, the official narrative is it's tied, it's a toss-up, 50-50. It's a coin flip. We'll just have to see. I don't know. And therefore, when we observe what effect that has on the populace, it creates immense tension, anxiety, focus, our frame, so to speak, of reality, our worldview, what's important to us, what we care about, is interrupted. We have to care. We're forced to care. We're forced to pay attention. We gotta look closer. How close are they now? This is the effect you can have on your opponent in a negotiation. It can be in business, it could be with your spouse, it could be with your kids. The 50-50 technique, acting as if something is a toss-up, could very well get you more of what you want, and even more than you thought you could get in the first place. And the other person still feel good about it. A mistake I see a lot of people make in persuasion is giving up too soon, giving up too early. In sales, no is not no, it's maybe. It's also maybe later. It's an invitation for another offer. And move this to personal relationships and they can get dicey real quick. So we're not going to do that too much. I have learned this myself. In sales, if someone says no to the initial offer, you make a drop down. You can do a counter offer. You don't have to get all dejected and angry. You can make a counter. It's fine. You can do it. No one's gonna stop you. Because it very well could be that no meant try me differently. Try me again. Give me something else. It's no that particular context, that offer, everything that's in there, not no to you personally. This allows you understanding how quiet negotiation happens. And I think this is the crux of the matter. Crux meaning cross meaning intersection. These two ideas of interpersonal relationships and persuasion therein, and the 50-50, what I believe to be inaccurate claim that Kamala and Trump are tied. This is the intersection right here. You demonstrating uncertainty as long as you possibly can will get you more of what you want in life if you're just not sure. So often people say yes to the first price, the first offer, because they're afraid. They're afraid. You make an offer and they accept it and you're like, immediately, wow, that was easy, no negotiation. That's great. What does that mean? That means they feel like you lost and they won. That's why they wanted to accept it right away. That hurts, doesn't it? Stings. Thinking of a couple of times that's happened to you when it was an easy yes. And now you realize that an easy yes for the other person meant you manipulated yourself. As the Dostoevsky quote goes, the worst part was you betrayed and destroyed yourself for nothing. And I'm seeing a lot of people do that to themselves in sales, in marketing, in the dating marketplace, betraying and destroying themselves for nothing. It stings. It's going to be okay. And the reason it's going to be okay is because you're going to do it differently. Aren't you?